Dr. Maya Rodriguez had always been the type of person who noticed things others missed. Working late nights at the Global Space Research Center, she spent her days studying strange creatures from the deepest parts of Earth's oceans. But nothing could have prepared her for what was about to happen on that Tuesday morning in March. The alarm bells started ringing at exactly 6:47 a.m. Maya was already at her desk, reviewing data from her latest research on glowing jellyfish, when every screen in the building suddenly switched to the same emergency broadcast. The words that appeared made her coffee cup slip from her hands. Unknown spacecraft detected entering Earth's atmosphere. Within hours, the entire world was watching. Giant ships, more beautiful than anything humans had ever imagined, slowly descended from the clouds. They looked like floating crystals, shimmering with colors that seemed to dance and change with every passing moment. The largest ship was 3 times the size of a football stadium, and it glowed with a warm, golden light that somehow made everyone who saw it feel peaceful. Maya found herself glued to the live television coverage, along with billions of other people around the globe. News reporters were struggling to find words to describe what they were seeing. The ships didn't land with any dramatic crashes or explosions like in the movies. Instead, they simply floated gently down and hovered just above the ground in a field outside Geneva, Switzerland. Then came the moment that changed everything. A beam of soft light appeared from the largest ship, and figures began to emerge. They looked almost human, but there was something magical about them. They were tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to glow from within. Their eyes were larger than human eyes, and they moved with a flowing motion that reminded Maya of underwater ballet. But it was their leader who took everyone's breath away. She stepped forward from the group, and the very air around her seemed to shimmer with golden light. She was clearly their queen, though she wore no crown. Her presence alone commanded respect and wonder. When she spoke, her voice was gentle but carried easily across the field, and somehow everyone watching on television could understand her perfectly, no matter what language they spoke. "People of Earth," the queen said, her voice like music, "we come in peace. We are the Zephyrians, and we have traveled far to meet you." Maya watched in amazement as world leaders scrambled to respond. Within days, the most important people from every country were gathering in Geneva for what the media called the most important meeting in human history. The alien queen, who introduced herself as Queen Astra, sat calmly at the enormous conference table, surrounded by diplomats and presidents who could barely hide their excitement and nervousness. As a scientist working for the research center, Maya was given special access to watch these historic meetings through secure video feeds. She was supposed to be studying the aliens' biology and taking notes, but she found herself completely fascinated by Queen Astra herself. The queen was unlike anyone Maya had ever seen. She answered every question with patience and wisdom. When the president of Brazil asked about their intentions, she smiled warmly and explained that her people had been watching Earth for many years, waiting for humans to be ready for contact. When the Prime Minister of Japan worried about Earth's safety, Queen Astra assured him that the Zephyrians had no interest in conquest or control. "We seek friendship," the queen said during one memorable moment. "Your species has something special that we admire greatly. You have hope, even in your darkest times. You have the ability to come together when it matters most. These are gifts that we wish to learn from." But Maya, with her scientist's eye for detail, began to notice things that others seemed to miss. During the longer meetings, she observed that Queen Astra's glow seemed to dim slightly. It was subtle. So subtle that most people wouldn't catch it, but Maya had spent years studying bioluminescent creatures. She knew how to spot changes in light patterns that others couldn't see. She started keeping a private notebook, documenting these observations. On day 3 of the meetings, she noticed that the queen seemed to take deeper breaths during longer speeches. On day 5, Maya spotted a moment when Queen Astra closed her eyes for just a second longer than normal while listening to a presentation about Earth's environmental challenges. Nobody else seemed to notice these tiny signs. The world was too busy celebrating. News channels ran constant coverage about humanity's bright future. Scientists around the globe were thrilled about the possibility of learning new technologies. Children drew pictures of the beautiful alien ships and hung them on refrigerators. The Queen had become a symbol of hope and wonder for the entire planet. Maya tried to share her concerns with her supervisor, Dr. Chen, but he just smiled and patted her shoulder. "Maya, you're overthinking this," he said. "The Queen is probably just tired from all these meetings. Wouldn't you be exhausted if you had to sit through hours of diplomatic discussions every day?" But Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Her expertise in studying glowing sea creatures had taught her that when bioluminescent organisms started dimming, it usually meant something important. In the deep ocean, creatures use their light for communication, for attracting food, and for survival itself. When that light started to fade, it was often a sign of stress, illness, or worse. The more she watched Queen Astra, the more convinced she became that the alien leader was struggling with something. During one particularly long session about trade agreements, Maya noticed that the Queen's hands trembled slightly when she thought no one was looking. It lasted only a moment, but Maya caught it. That night, Maya stayed late at the research center, going through all the video footage she had access to. She analyzed every frame, looking for patterns in the Queen's behavior and appearance. What she found made her stomach turn with worry. The Queen's glow was definitely getting dimmer, day by day. It was happening so slowly that it would take weeks or months for others to notice, but the pattern was clear to someone who knew what to look for. The most troubling part was that Queen Astra seemed to be trying to hide it. Maya watched as the Queen positioned herself carefully in meetings, always choosing seats near windows where natural sunlight would help mask the dimming of her inner light. She noticed how the Queen would take small breaks between sessions, stepping outside alone for a few minutes before returning with her glow slightly brighter. Maya realized she was possibly the only person on Earth who understood that something was seriously wrong with Queen Astra. The thought terrified her. Here was this amazing being who had brought hope to the entire world, and Maya suspected she was sick or in trouble somehow. But how could she convince anyone to listen when the whole planet was celebrating? As the first week of meetings came to an end, Maya made a decision that would change her life forever. She was going to find a way to help Queen Astra, even if no one believed her concerns. She didn't know how yet, but her scientific training had taught her that observation was the first step to understanding. And right now, she was the only one truly observing. The Queen's final appearance that week was at a press conference watched by over 2 billion people. She stood at the podium, glowing beautifully as always, and spoke about the bright future that humans and Zephyrians would build together. But Maya, watching from her small office, could see what no one else could see. Queen Astra was running out of time. 6 months had passed since Queen Astra's arrival, and the world had transformed in ways nobody could have imagined. Maya Rodriguez found herself in the middle of the most exciting time in human history, but her worry about the alien queen had only grown stronger. The changes on Earth were nothing short of miraculous. In major cities around the globe, new power stations hummed quietly, providing clean energy that the Zephyrians had shared with humanity. These weren't the loud, smoking factories of the past. Instead, they looked like giant crystals that glowed softly and turned sunlight into electricity more efficiently than anything humans had ever built. Maya walked to work each morning past one of these new energy stations in her city. Every day she marveled at how quiet and beautiful it was. Children often gathered around the fence just to watch the gentle light patterns that danced across its surface. The air in the city had become cleaner than it had been in decades. But the changes went far beyond clean energy. Hospitals around the world were using new medical devices that could heal injuries in days instead of weeks. Farmers were growing crops using Zephyrian techniques that needed less water and produced more food. Scientists were working with alien technology that seemed almost like magic to most people. Maya had been chosen to join the special team of researchers working directly with the Zephyrians. It was the opportunity of a lifetime, and she knew how. Lucky she was. Every morning she put on her security badge and walked into the most advanced research facility on Earth, where humans and aliens worked side by side. The Zephyrian scientists were fascinating to work with. They were patient teachers who seemed genuinely excited to share their knowledge with humans. Maya learned that their technology was based on something they called life energy, the same kind of energy that made their skin glow and their ships fly. Dr. Kelvin Nash, Maya's research partner, was completely amazed by everything they learned. "Can you believe this?" he would say almost every day, examining some new piece of alien technology. "They've figured out how to use the energy that exists in all living things. It's like they've solved the puzzle of life itself." Maya enjoyed working with Kelvin. He was smart, funny, and one of the few people who didn't think she was crazy for paying so much attention to small details. While other researchers focused on the big discoveries, Maya continued her careful observations of Queen Astra. The Queen had become the most beloved figure on Earth. She appeared on television shows, visited schools, and spoke at important events around the world. Everywhere she went, crowds gathered just to catch a glimpse of her gentle glow and hear her wise words. Children especially loved her, and she always made time to answer their questions with patience and kindness. But Maya's private research was revealing disturbing patterns. She had convinced Dr. Nash to help her analyze video footage of the Queen's public appearances. Together, they measured the brightness of her glow using specialized equipment Maya had borrowed from her bioluminescence research. "Look at this data," Maya said one evening, showing Kelvin a graph on her computer screen. "The Queen's light output has decreased by 12% since she arrived. It's happening slowly, but it's definitely happening." Kelvin studied the numbers carefully. At first, he had been skeptical of Maya's concerns, but the evidence was becoming harder to ignore. "Maybe it's just because she's been working so hard," he suggested. "All these meetings and public appearances must be exhausting." Maya shook her head. "That's what I thought at first, too. But look at this." She pulled up another chart. "The dimming is consistent, even on days when she has light schedules. It's not related to how busy she is. Something else is going on." Their research was interrupted by exciting news from the main laboratory. The Zephyrian scientists had just shared the blueprint for a new type of transportation system that could move people across continents in minutes instead of hours. The whole research team was buzzing with excitement about the possibilities. Maya tried to share her findings with the project director, Dr. Williams, but he was too busy planning the next phase of technology transfers to listen carefully. "Maya, I appreciate your thoroughness," he said, barely looking up from his paperwork. "But Queen Astra seems perfectly healthy to me. She was just on television yesterday, and she looked wonderful." The frustration was starting to get to Maya. She was watching what she believed was a slow crisis unfolding, but nobody wanted to hear about it. The whole world was focused on the amazing gifts the Zephyrians were sharing, and any suggestion that something might be wrong seemed almost ungrateful. Meanwhile, Maya noticed that the Zephyrian advisors who always accompanied Queen Astra were becoming more protective. In the early days of contact, they had been open and friendly with human researchers, but lately they seemed more guarded, especially when anyone asked too many questions about Zephyrian biology or the Queen's health. One afternoon, Maya was reviewing security footage when she caught something that made her heart race. The video showed Queen Astra walking down a hallway with her advisors after a meeting. For just a moment, when she thought no one was looking, the Queen stumbled slightly and had to steady herself against the wall. One of her advisors quickly moved to help her, and they exchanged words in their own language that the microphones couldn't pick up clearly. Maya rewound the footage and watched it again. The Queen's stumble lasted only a few seconds, and she recovered quickly, but it was the first time Maya had seen any sign of physical weakness. The advisor's reaction suggested this wasn't the first time it had happened. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the Queen's stumble and what it might mean. She had spent months documenting the gradual dimming of Queen Astra's glow, but this was the first sign that whatever was happening might be affecting her physically as... Well, the next morning brought news that made Maya's concerns seem even more urgent. Queen Astra had announced that she would be making more public appearances in the coming weeks, including a major address to the United Nations that would be watched by the entire world. The Queen said she wanted to share some important news about the future of human-Zephyrian cooperation. Maya watched the announcement on the news with growing dread. If the Queen was getting weaker, as Maya suspected, then increased public appearances would only make things worse. She tried once more to convince Dr. Williams to take her concerns seriously. "Sir, I really think we need to ask the Zephyrians about the Queen's health," Maya said during their weekly team meeting. "My data shows clear signs that something is changing with her biology." Dr. Williams sighed. "Maya, I understand you're concerned, but we can't go around questioning the health of the most important diplomatic figure in human history based on minor changes in light measurements. Imagine how that would look to our alien friends." But Maya couldn't let it go. As she walked home that evening, past the glowing energy station, she made a decision. She was going to find a way to get closer to Queen Astra and learn the truth about what was happening. The Queen had given humanity so much, and if she was in trouble, Maya felt responsible for trying to help. The problem was, she had no idea how dangerous that decision would turn out to be. Maya Rodriguez was having trouble sleeping again. For weeks now, she had been staying late at the research facility, analyzing data that nobody else wanted to see. Her desk was covered with charts, graphs, and printouts, showing the gradual decline in Queen Astra's energy readings. But tonight, she had discovered something that changed everything. It started when Dr. Kelvin Nash brought her a cup of coffee at 2 a.m. and found her staring at her computer screen with wide eyes. "Maya, you've been here for 14 hours straight," Kelvin said, setting the coffee down next to her keyboard. "What are you looking at that's so important?" Maya turned to face him, and Kelvin could see the excitement and fear mixed in her expression. "Kelvin, I think I've figured out why Queen Astra is getting weaker, and if I'm right, we're all in serious trouble." She pulled up a complex diagram on her screen that showed the energy patterns of Zephyrian technology. "Remember how the aliens told us their technology runs on life energy? Well, I've been studying the connection between the Queen's bio readings and the power output of their ships and equipment." Kelvin sat down in the chair next to her, suddenly very interested. "What did you find?" "The patterns match perfectly," Maya said, pointing to 2 different graphs. "Every time Queen Astra's energy drops, the power levels in all Zephyrian technology drop by exactly the same amount. It's not just similar, it's identical." Kelvin studied the data for several minutes, and slowly his face went pale. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" Maya nodded grimly. "Queen Astra isn't just the leader of her people. She's literally powering everything they have. Their ships, their medical devices, their energy stations, everything runs on her. Life force. She's like a living battery for their entire civilization. The implications hit them both at the same time. If Queen Astra was dying, then all the wonderful technology that had transformed Earth would die with her. Worse, the Zephyrian people themselves might not survive without their queen." "But that's impossible," Kelvin said, though his voice lacked conviction. "No single person could power all of that technology. The energy requirements would be enormous." Maya pulled up another screen showing historical data. "That's what I thought too, until I realized how long this has been going on. Look at these readings from their home planet, taken by our deep space telescopes before they arrived. The energy signatures match what I'm seeing from Queen Astra. She's been doing this for centuries, maybe longer. Over the next few days, Maya and Kelvin worked together to confirm their terrible discovery. They analyzed every piece of data they could access, and the evidence kept pointing to the same conclusion. Queen Astra was slowly dying from the enormous burden of keeping her entire civilization alive. But when they tried to share their findings with other researchers, they ran into unexpected resistance. Dr. Williams called Maya into his office after she submitted her report, and he was not happy. "Maya, I'm very concerned about the direction of your research," Dr. Williams said, closing the door behind her. "The theories you're proposing are extremely sensitive. If word got out that you think Queen Astra is dying, it could cause worldwide panic." "But, sir, if I'm right, then we need to find a way to help her," Maya replied. "The Queen has given us so much. We can't just stand by and watch her sacrifice herself for our benefit." Dr. Williams shook his head. "Maya, you're a brilliant scientist, but you're not a diplomat. The relationship between Earth and the Zephyrians is delicate. We can't go around making wild accusations based on energy readings that could have dozens of different explanations." Maya left the meeting feeling frustrated and alone. Even Kelvin was starting to have doubts about pursuing their research further, especially after several other team members suggested they were being disrespectful to their alien guests. But Maya's concerns were proven right sooner than she expected. That weekend, while Queen Astra was visiting a children's hospital in Tokyo, something went wrong with the city's new energy station. The beautiful crystal structure that had been glowing steadily for months suddenly flickered and dimmed. Power across the city became unstable for several hours before the problem was mysteriously fixed. Maya watched the news coverage with growing alarm. The official explanation was that the energy station had experienced a minor technical malfunction, but Maya knew better. She had been monitoring Queen Astra's location that day, and the timing was too perfect to be a coincidence. The Queen's presence at the hospital, combined with whatever was draining her energy, had caused the power fluctuation. Similar incidents started happening around the world. In London, a Zephyrian medical device at a major hospital stopped working for 20 minutes during a critical surgery. In São Paulo, one of the new transportation systems experienced delays when its power levels dropped unexpectedly. Each time, the problems were explained away as minor technical issues, but Maya could see the pattern. More troubling was what she observed about the Zephyrian advisors. They were becoming increasingly nervous and protective of Queen Astra. Maya noticed they had started limiting her public appearances and keeping her away from the most energy-intensive Zephyrian technologies. During meetings, they would whisper urgently among themselves in their own language whenever they thought humans weren't paying attention. One evening, Maya decided to take a risk. She had noticed that Queen Astra often walked alone in the gardens, outside the research facility during her visits. Maya waited in the gardens until she saw the Queen approaching, walking slowly among the flowers with a tired expression on her glowing face. "Your Majesty," Maya called out softly, stepping out from behind a tree. "Could I speak with you for a moment?" Queen Astra looked surprised, but smiled warmly. "Of course, Dr. Rodriguez. I remember you from the research presentations. You study the glowing creatures from your oceans, don't you?" Maya was amazed that the Queen remembered such a small detail about her work. "Yes, Your Majesty, that's actually what I wanted to talk to you about. I've been studying bioluminescence for years, and I've noticed some patterns in your energy signatures that concern me." The Queen's expression changed slightly, becoming more guarded. "What kind of patterns?" Maya took a deep breath and decided to be direct. "Your Majesty, I believe you're using your own life energy to power Zephyrian technology, and I think it's slowly killing you." For a long moment, Queen Astra said nothing. She looked at Maya with those large, gentle eyes, and Maya could see both sadness and relief in them. Finally, the Queen sat down on a nearby bench and gestured for Maya to join her. "You are very observant, Dr. Rodriguez," Queen Astra said quietly. "More observant than most of my own people realize." Maya felt her heart racing. "Then it's true? You're really powering everything?" The Queen nodded slowly. "For over 300 years, I have carried this responsibility. It is the burden of those born with the gift of life energy in my species. But the gift comes with a price." "Why didn't you tell us?" Maya asked. "Humans would want to help if they knew the truth." Queen Astra smiled sadly. "Because your people have already given us so much just by accepting us. How could we ask you to share in our burden as well? And besides, my advisors believe we are close to finding a solution that won't require human involvement." But Maya could see the truth in the Queen's dimming glow. Whatever solution the advisors were hoping for, it wasn't coming fast enough. Queen Astra was running out of time, and when she died, both civilizations would face disaster. As Maya walked home that night, she realized that she was probably the only human who knew the full truth about their situation. And somehow, she was going to have to find a way to save not just Queen Astra, but both of their worlds. The day that changed everything started like any other Tuesday morning. Maya Rodriguez was at her desk early, reviewing the latest energy readings from Queen Astra's appearances, when her phone buzzed with an urgent news alert. The Queen was scheduled to give a major address to the United Nations later that day, and Maya's stomach twisted with worry. Over the past 2 weeks since her garden conversation with Queen Astra, Maya had watched the Queen's condition worsen at an alarming rate. The brief moments of honesty they had shared seemed to have given the Queen permission to stop hiding her exhaustion quite so carefully. Maya could see it in every video clip, every photograph. Queen Astra was fading faster than ever. Dr. Kelvin Nash found Maya pacing nervously in the break room that morning. "You're thinking about the UN speech, aren't you?" he asked, pouring himself coffee with shaking hands. Even Kelvin, who had been skeptical of Maya's concerns for so long, was now convinced that something terrible was about to happen. "She shouldn't be doing this," Maya said, running her hands through her hair. "A speech to the entire United Nations, broadcast live to billions of people around the world. The stress alone could be enough to push her over the edge." They had tried one more time to warn the authorities. Maya had submitted a formal report to Dr. Williams, begging him to at least postpone the Queen's appearance until they could study her condition more carefully. But their warnings had been dismissed again, this time with even less patience than before. "Dr. Rodriguez," Dr. Williams had said coldly, "if you continue to spread these unfounded theories about Queen Astra's health, I'll have no choice but to remove you from the project entirely. The Queen's medical condition is a matter for her own people to handle." So Maya found herself watching helplessly as the most important speech in human history was about to take place, knowing that disaster might be only hours away. The UN General Assembly Hall had never looked more magnificent. Flags from every nation on Earth hung alongside newly created banners representing the Zephyrian people. World leaders filled the seats, their faces glowing with excitement and hope. Outside the building, crowds of people had gathered just to be close to this historic moment. Maya and Kelvin managed to get permission to watch from the research facility's main conference room, along with dozens of other scientists and staff members. Everyone was talking excitedly about what Queen Astra might announce. Some people thought she would reveal new technologies. Others hoped she would share more about Zephyrian culture and history. Maya sat quietly in the back of the room, her laptop open to the monitoring systems she had secretly connected to track energy fluctuations around the UN building. If she was right about Queen Astra's condition, those systems might be the only early warning they would get. At exactly 3 p.m. Eastern Time, Queen Astra walked into the General Assembly Hall. Even on the television screens, her presence was breathtaking. She moved with that same graceful, flowing motion that had captivated the world 8 months ago. Her golden glow seemed as bright as ever, and she smiled warmly at the assembled leaders as she approached the podium. Maya's laptop screen showed a different story. The energy readings were already fluctuating wildly, jumping up and down in patterns Maya had never seen before. It was as if Queen Astra was using every last bit of her remaining strength to maintain her appearance of health and vitality. Distinguished leaders of Earth, Queen Astra began, her musical voice carrying easily through the hall and into living rooms around the globe. I stand before you today with news that will shape the future of both our peoples. Maya watched the energy readings spike dangerously high, then drop almost to zero before jumping back up again. Her hands trembled as she typed notes into her computer, documenting everything she was seeing. For 8 months, we have worked together to build a bridge between our civilizations, the Queen continued. You have welcomed us with open hearts, and we have shared our knowledge freely. But today, I must share with you a truth that my advisors have long urged me to keep secret. In the conference room, everyone leaned forward. This wasn't what anyone had expected to hear. Maya's laptop screen flashed red as the energy readings went completely chaotic. Queen Astra paused, taking what appeared to be a deep breath. When she spoke again, her voice was slightly less steady than before. The technologies we have shared with you, the ships that brought us here, the healing devices in your hospitals, all of these things are powered by the life force of those born. With a special gift among my people, a murmur went through the assembly hall. Maya could see world leaders exchanging confused glances, not sure what the Queen was trying to tell them. And I, Queen Astra said, gripping the podium slightly, have carried this responsibility for over 3 centuries. Maya's laptop screen suddenly went dark. Every energy reading flatlined at the same moment. In the UN hall, the lights flickered ominously. Your Majesty, someone called out from the assembly, but Queen Astra raised her hand to continue speaking. I wanted you to know, she said, and now Maya could hear the exhaustion creeping into her voice, that everything we have given you was freely given, with no expectation of— The word was never finished. Queen Astra's eyes suddenly went wide, and her golden glow began to flicker like a candle in the wind. She reached out toward the podium for support, but her legs gave out beneath her. The collapse happened in terrible slow motion. Queen Astra crumpled to the floor of the UN stage, her beautiful light fading to almost nothing. Screams echoed through the assembly hall as world leaders jumped to their feet. Security personnel rushed toward the stage, but the Zephyrian advisors were already there, surrounding their fallen queen. In the research facility conference room, chaos erupted. Scientists were shouting questions at each other, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. Dr. Williams was barking orders into his phone, demanding immediate contact with the UN medical team. But Maya was already running. She grabbed her laptop and pushed through the crowd, ignoring the voices calling after her. Kelvin caught up with her at the elevator, his face pale with shock. Maya, where are you going? He demanded. To the UN building, she replied, stabbing the elevator button repeatedly. I might be the only person on Earth who understands what just happened. As the elevator doors closed, Maya could hear the sounds of panic spreading throughout the building. On every television screen, news anchors were struggling to explain what viewers had just witnessed. Around the world, the Zephyrian energy stations began to flicker and dim. In hospitals, alien medical devices started failing. The transportation systems ground to a halt. Queen Astra's collapse hadn't just shocked the world, it had triggered the beginning of a technological catastrophe that would affect every person on Earth. And Maya knew that unless they found a solution, quickly, both civilizations would pay the ultimate price for the Queen's centuries of sacrifice. The race to save both worlds had begun, and Maya was running out of time to find answers that might not even exist. Maya Rodriguez had never driven so fast in her life. The streets around the United Nations building were in complete chaos. Emergency vehicles raced in every direction, their sirens wailing as they responded to power failures throughout the city. Traffic lights had stopped working when the Zephyrian energy grid failed, and confused drivers sat in their cars unsure what to do. Dr. Kelvin Nash gripped the passenger seat as Maya swerved around a stalled bus. "Maya, even if we get inside the building, they're not going to let us anywhere near Queen Astra. Security will be tighter than ever." "I have to try," Maya replied, her eyes fixed on the road ahead. "I'm probably the only human who really understands what's happening to her. If there's any chance of saving her, I need to be there." When they finally reached the UN Plaza, Maya could see the scope of the disaster unfolding. News crews from around the world had set up their equipment, broadcasting live reports about the Queen's collapse. But behind the cameras, Maya noticed something that made her heart sink. Zephyrian advisors were loading equipment onto their ships with urgent, desperate movements. Maya managed to talk their way past the first security checkpoint by showing her research facility credentials and claiming they had vital medical information about Zephyrian biology. But as they got closer to the building, it became clear that the situation was far worse than anyone realized. "Dr. Rodriguez," a familiar voice called out. Maya turned to see Dr. Williams running toward them, his usually neat appearance disheveled and panicked. "Thank goodness you're here. We need your expertise immediately." Maya was shocked. Just hours ago, Dr. Williams had been dismissing her concerns about Queen Astra's health. "Sir, what's changed?" "Everything," Dr. Williams replied grimly. "After the Queen collapsed, the Zephyrian advisors finally told us the truth. You were right about everything. She really has been powering their entire civilization. And without her, all their technology is failing." As they hurried into the building, Dr. Williams explained the desperate situation. "The advisors say they have maybe 6 hours before their life support systems fail completely. Their ships can't maintain orbit without the Queen's energy, and if they crash into Earth—" Maya didn't need him to finish the sentence. The massive Zephyrian ships falling from the sky would cause catastrophic damage to every major city on the planet. They took a high-speed elevator to the medical wing where Queen Astra had been taken after her collapse. Maya's heart broke when she saw the alien leader lying on a hospital bed, her once brilliant glow reduced to barely a flicker. Zephyrian medical devices surrounded her, but they were all failing one by one as her energy continued to fade. The lead Zephyrian advisor, Counselor Vex, approached Maya with desperate eyes. "Dr. Rodriguez, my colleagues tell me you have been studying our Queen's condition. Please, is there anything your people can do to help her?" Maya looked at the dying Queen, then at the failing equipment around her. Her mind raced through everything she had learned about Zephyrian biology and energy systems. "Counselor Vex, I need to understand something. How did Queen Astra become the power source for your people? Was she born this way?" "No," Vex replied sadly. "The gift of life energy can be shared, but it requires a willing recipient who has the biological compatibility to handle such power. Queen Astra volunteered for this role when our previous energy keeper died over 3 centuries ago." Maya felt a spark of hope. "So theoretically someone else could take on this responsibility?" "Yes, but the process is extremely dangerous for the recipient. And among our people, there are no others with the necessary biological markers." Vex paused, looking at Maya with a strange expression. "However, we have detected similar energy patterns in some humans." Maya's heart began to race. "You mean humans could potentially share this burden?" "Possibly. But we would never ask such a sacrifice from your people," Vex said quickly. "The energy requirements would likely kill any human who attempted it." But Maya was already thinking beyond the obvious solution. Her years of studying bioluminescent creatures had taught her something important about energy distribution in living systems. What if we didn't try to replace Queen Astra completely? What if we found a way to share the load among multiple people? Dr. Kelvin Nash, who had been listening quietly, suddenly spoke up. "Like a network?" instead of one person carrying all. The energy, we could distribute it across many individuals? Maya nodded excitedly. Exactly. In the ocean, I've studied colonies of bioluminescent organisms that share energy between hundreds of individuals. No single creature carries the full burden. They all contribute a small amount to power the whole colony. Counselor Vex looked confused but hopeful. Such a thing might be possible, but we would need willing volunteers who have the biological compatibility, and we would need Queen Astra to survive long enough to help establish the connections. Maya looked at Queen Astra's fading form, then at the monitors showing Zephyrian technology failing around the world. Time was running out, but she had an idea that might work. I want to volunteer, Maya said firmly. Test my biological compatibility. If I can handle even a small portion of the energy load, it might buy us time to find others. Maya, no! Dr. Kelvin protested. We don't even know if it's safe. You could die. But Maya had already made up her mind. Kelvin, if we don't try something, Queen Astra will die anyway, and both our civilizations will be destroyed. At least this way, we have a chance. The next hour was the most intense of Maya's life. Zephyrian medical technicians, working with the last reserves of power from their failing equipment, ran tests on Maya's biology. To everyone's amazement, not only was she compatible with Zephyrian energy systems, but her years of studying bioluminescent organisms had somehow prepared her body to handle bioelectric transfers. It's remarkable, Counselor Vex said, studying the test results. Your prolonged exposure to bioluminescent energy patterns has created neural pathways that mirror our own energy distribution systems. But Maya knew that even with her compatibility, she couldn't handle the full load alone. We need more volunteers. What about other researchers who have worked with bioluminescent organisms? Dr. Kelvin immediately stepped forward. Test me too. I've been working alongside Maya for months. Maybe I've developed some compatibility as well. Word spread quickly through the scientific community. Within 2 hours, dozens of researchers from around the world were volunteering to be tested. Marine biologists, energy physicists, and even some of the technicians who had been working directly with Zephyrian technology showed varying degrees of compatibility. As Queen Astra's condition continued to deteriorate, Maya made the decision to begin the energy transfer process with the volunteers they had. It was risky. They didn't know if a human network could really sustain Zephyrian technology, but it was their only hope. The process itself was unlike anything Maya had ever experienced. As Counselor Vex guided the energy transfer, Maya felt a warm, tingling sensation spread through her entire body. It wasn't painful, but it was overwhelming, like being connected to the life force of an entire civilization. One by one, other volunteers joined the network. Dr. Kelvin, 3 Marine, biologists from Japan, an energy physicist from Germany, and 7 technicians who had been working with Zephyrian systems. Each new connection made the energy load more manageable for everyone in the network. Slowly, incredibly, it began to work. Queen Astra's vital signs stabilized as the network took over a portion of her burden. Around the world, Zephyrian technology flickered back to life. The massive ships in orbit regained power and moved to safe positions away from populated areas. Queen Astra opened her eyes for the first time in hours, and Maya could see gratitude and wonder in her gaze. "You have done something extraordinary," the Queen whispered. "You have found a way to share not just our technology, but our responsibility." Maya smiled, feeling the gentle flow of energy through the network, connecting her to researchers around the globe. "Your Majesty, you've given us so much. It's time we gave something back." Over the following days, the human Zephyrian energy network grew stronger and more stable. More volunteers joined as word spread about the successful experiment. Queen Astra, no longer bearing the full burden alone, began to recover her strength and vitality. The crisis had revealed something beautiful about both species: the willingness to sacrifice for others, to share burdens, and to work together for the survival of all. Maya found herself at the center of a new kind of relationship between Earth and the Zephyrian people, one based not just on the exchange of technology, but on mutual support and shared responsibility. As she stood in the research facility's garden, one evening watching Queen Astra walk among the flowers with renewed energy, Maya realized that sometimes the best solutions come not from replacing what's broken, but from finding new ways to share the load. The alien queen's collapse had nearly destroyed both civilizations, but it had also shown them a path toward a future where no one had to carry impossible burdens alone.